Well, hello and welcome, everybody. We are here for week 7 of the WTRL Zwift Racing League for America West. Kate Bates, joined by the one and only Dave Towle. Dave, I can't believe we've only got 1 week left in the season after this. This team time trial is going to be an important one.
Yeah, it really is. We're in Richmond, back for 32K of racing. Unbelievable today, Kate. I don't know how things went in APAC with you and Anna, but we have seen a couple of races finish within 1 second for first and second. We've seen some big shifts. Actually, James Barnes chimed in our chat earlier today, actually in the America's East race, letting us know that there were some 4-point swings today, something you don't see very much in the ZRL, that's for sure. So, yeah, let's expect some exciting racing for the last one of the day. But you're bumming me out. I can't believe we're coming to the end of this season already. It's been so much fun with you, Kate.
It has, Dave. I always love America West. And I also think that we have seen some really big talents and personalities stand up this season that will definitely go on to either commentate on or watch in the Premier League next season, which is also very exciting. Now, speaking of teams' time trials, there's some pretty exciting news coming out of WTRL. They are hosting a world tournament, Dave, so that is an incredibly exciting event. We've got a little promo to play for that. It's all kind of snazzy and jazzy and very flashy, just in the ways we'd like to do it.
Razzmatazz. Yeah.
Yeah. So we will take a look at that at some point as well to get people involved in that. Now, Dave, you mentioned that there were some 4-point swings. We did see that in APAC, that in the 8 and 16 kilometer splits, they may be going one way. It then swung by the final, and depending on who split the top teams, we were looking at a bit of a rejiggle at the top of the table. I think we're going to see that again, because the last team's time trial, it was Azetta in particular in the men's A's that all of a sudden came out of nowhere. Before that, we were talking a lot about Brett Boniface, but we weren't talking a lot about Azetta. They did win that team time trial. It gave them a huge amount of confidence, and it's changed the way they've raced for the second half of the season. Now, before we jump down, let's take a look at the women's standings, Dave, so we know what is going on there for this final points tussle. So I'll hand it over to you, but DDC at the top there, Dave.
Yeah, and congratulations to them, Kate. They've had a fantastic season and have definitely proven to be one of the strongest in the community. But so in our women's B here, I think what's fascinating is the race for second now, as it's going to really come down to the next 2 weeks of racing. But you start today where you either put yourself out in front or behind the 8 ball is ATP Racing Vespid, West Coast Coalition B, and Alto Velatonitas are deadlocked at 105. And Cadence, it's still not mathematically impossible for them. It would take some fancy math, though, for them to end up in second after it's all said and done. But they could move up into third. It's going to be really fun to watch. Team F3 FBW is still up in the fight as well. But that's your top 6. It's going to be really interesting to see how things play out here today in Richmond. Racing on the reverse UCI course. It's been a perfect run here for Dutch Diesel Cycling Atomic Kittens in the C's, as they've been absolutely dominant, Kate. But I'm going to throw it back to you as, look, we've got a very similar scenario here.
This is so incredible. It just shows the talent of racing, doesn't it, that they are so close here, because second, third, and fourth, we've got Coalition Synthesis on 106 points, Revo Musketeers on 106 points, Herd of Misfit Meerkats on 105 points. Usually we come into an event like this and we say anything could still happen because our producers are telling us to say that to keep it exciting. But in this case, Dave, it's just fact, because we absolutely do not know who will be on the podium out of those 3 based on the points today. West Coast Coalition, C1 and C2 in 5th and 6th. I love how many teams they're entering, and we will see them enforce in the coming years and seasons, I think. The Herd of Mischievous Meerkats, oopsie, sitting in 7th. The Felix in 8th. Heroic in 9th. Betty Squad C, they are sitting in 10th. We have seen some surprise results, or maybe not surprise, but impressive results from some of the lower ranked aggregate teams in some of the earlier teams time trial events across all of the categories. So that could happen again today.
Tremendous camaraderie has been shown in all of the different divisions that we've got out here. And actually, so we have just the B's and the C's racing in the West. It's a small but mighty group that we have, Kate. We're in Richmond, historic Richmond. So if we talk about the course, we're 7K in here with DDC Dutch Diesel, the dominant team so far, the Xena edition. The course starts out very interesting. You go downhill, drop down into a little valley over the first couple of K. That's the men over on the left as they're still in the pen, ready to spawn out on course. It's actually interesting to watch how that works. But so you pick up speed. It's important to really launch, Kate, as picking up speed quickly makes a huge difference because then you're going on the reverse climb up Governors. Then you've got to deal with 23rd, then Libby. Then you take that cobblestone snake down through the park, and you're back into making your way on tarmac, some climbing back into downtown Richmond, and you get to do it all one more time. It's 2 laps out here, 16K each. Not a tremendous amount of vertical, but you can see that most of it comes up front on each lap, Kate. It's a challenging course. As a matter of fact, as challenging as anybody could want to see out here.
Well, let's be real, Dave. It's horrible. It's disgusting.
I
there
agree.
will be a lot of riders out there thinking this is
I didn't want to say
unfair.
I didn't want to say it. It's extreme.
I love the course when it is extreme. It's the kind of course that typically when you love it, it's because you know how much everybody is suffering and you know that it will animate the race and make it interesting. You tend not to love it because you think, oh, cool, I can get a cruisy ride in. Not on this course. And I must admit that last week when I was saying this is coming up and I was saying we love how exciting this is, Dave, I had forgotten it was a team's time trial. So last night for APAC when I dialed in and realised that, I was like, oh, dear Jesus, these poor things.
Yeah.
And fair to say, this is how I'll no, what I saw. I'll just sum it up in one go so that we can then kind of apply that across the board. We saw the teams who climbed together. So their top climbers would go to the front and pace a little bit, and very clear instructions obviously going on because they would really back it off and try and keep that team together. The other very clear tactic we saw was the climbers all climbing at their own pace that wasn't break pace, and then at the top they would kind of wait and regroup so that they would be together. Both of these strategies have their merits, Dave, but what we also noticed is the teams that tended to be a little bit more conservative to look after their 5th and 6th riders in particular, often were a little bit slower in that midsection, possibly than they meant to be, because they were almost erring on the conservative side because of how tough the course is. So I'm really interested to see what plays out here, and especially with teams like DDC, who are so strong, but they do have quite a diverse range of riders because that's why they've been scoring so many points, right, and dominating, because they've got climbers, they've got sprinters, they've kind of got rollers in the middle. So how do you get them all to work together beautifully and nice and cohesively, Dave, to get the fastest time they can?
Get a good director. That's a great place to start, is one thing that we've learned, Kate. By the way, congratulations on your appointment to the esports director's job for World Championships coming up. You know I'm always proud of you, Kate, in everything you do, and that just makes me that much more excited for the Australians' chances. So Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
I'll get you a supporter scarf or something, Dave, so you can be one of the team.
I see it being emblazoned with a kangaroo or something. It'll be great. So,
totally.
But in all seriousness, a director makes a big difference out here. An understanding of what your job is and the expectations. It makes a big difference. And Dutch Diesel is a team that checks every box, no doubt about it. They're now going to be. You can see the gradient increases a little bit, and they're just mobbing this one out here today. Just kind of not really fancy, Kate, to tell you the truth, is that's going to be Daniela Torelli moving up. So they're not playing around. It's brute force out here, and they can do that. No doubt about it. They get that first split. It is worth noting out here. Start with 6 riders in the community of ZRL, WTRL racing. We have 4th rider is where you take your time from. And we do start with the top points leaders going out first. A little bit different than you see a lot of the time.
There was quite a few teams we noticed in APAC, and I'm not sure what happened in some of the other geographies. You probably have an insight on this one, Dave, but that were having some technical issues as they were leaving the pens. So they only ended up with 3 riders out on course. And were a bit unsure of what they do. Now, some of the teams continued to the finish riding amazingly, but of course they didn't record a result. And so I think that is a really good reminder that you need to be in the pens early. You need to make sure everything is working, because it is quite different to the points race. The whole team really suffers for any technical overlooking or mishaps that might happen along the way, because if you don't have those 4 starting, and also if you only have 4 starting, Dave. So in APAC, in the men, the ZWC Allies took the win there. Surprisingly, actually, we thought they might get bettered by Anna's favourite team, NZ Bro. Probably no surprise that's her favourite team, hey?
The cheese rollers.
Yeah, the cheese rollers. Yeah, well, she seems to think also, Dave, that a cheese roll is very specific to New Zealand. So I'm not sure how the rest of the world feels about that one.
I don't know about that either.
Cheese roll? Like putting a piece of cheese on a bread roll? I don't know. How do you even invent
every nation has their version of that. So, yeah.
Yes.
I'm with you. Well, this is the one time that we might outvote Anna on something. That's for sure. So,
yeah.
Yeah, so those are some of the details to look at.
Yeah. Well, and so the other thing that I wanted to discuss about this week that really impacts what we'll see is that a couple of the riders from last week were actually disqualified essentially for being too powerful, which is a real double-edged sword, right? On one hand, it's amazing because they're moving up a division and they're killing it, and that is great. But on the other hand, it's a little bit bittersweet when you get disqualified because your power average is too high. One of our favourites, Whitney Post, we won't see her out there tonight, Dave, because Whitney was disqualified last week. She has just progressed so incredibly, and we just love her and her riding. But unfortunately, she won't be out there tonight or next week because she's now an A category rider, so she'll have to find a place maybe in one of the other America time zones.
Yeah, no shame in that at all. I fully understand. Whitney was just featured. There's a vlog or a video podcast that she's really come on strong. So the Belgian waffle ride folks were recognizing that she's quietly worked her way up into the group of the elite women racing at these events, and she's done it through hard work. So it's all legit, that's for sure. I would file it under a good problem to have, getting DQ'd for being too strong, and no one is questioning that she's cheating. It's just like, look, Whitney, you're basically sandbagging at this point, even though you don't mean to be. You start at point A, and you've now progressed to point AAA, and we're just going to have to upgrade you. Again, good problem to have.
Well, right? Yeah, it is. I think there's a bit of contention, Dave, or a bit of chatter amongst the riders about whether they should be disqualified or just upgraded again for the next race, because the implications on the team can be a little bit there. So I think they're all talking a bit about that. But I agree in the bigger picture.
I hear
it is a great problem to have.
Yeah, personally for Whitney, right? But I fully understand how for the teams, these are always you really have to, and as you've seen this in your international athletic career, and especially with the Olympics just happening, when you have an issue, you look at it from the different perspectives, and you can see how these things can be quite complicated. Oh, I spoke with Philippe Nystrom, by the way.
Oh, tell me. I wanted to ask. I'd kind of dared to ask. Tell me, tell me.
Yeah, so it's a little frustrating to tell you the truth. He does want to race, um, but because his federation isn't fully tuned in with esports right now, Costa Rica is not a cycling powerhouse nation per se, and they, just kind of haven't done the due diligence to register him, and he didn't get, everybody had a chance in those continental qualifiers, and unfortunately, he was really busy with the cyclocross at that point, and yeah, it's just it's unfortunate. It really is, but we won't be seeing him there. But it's not because he didn't want to.
No, well, hopefully, I mean, we could start an online petition with a hashtag, get the Costa Rican Federation to up their game. Let's see if we can
Well,
do
it's
that.
funny.
Or petitions with to get some wild cards from those smaller federations for next
Yeah,
year.
and I think if we knew 3 months ago what we knew now, maybe that would have happened, right? But it's also recent, and you can't. It's sort of unfair to change. So that's a good example, right? If you make an exception for Philippe, then what about the Chilean rider? Or there's going to always be other riders that have the same story or a similar story, or so it's tough, right?
Yeah.
My heart always goes out to the commissioner of these leagues or the decision makers on that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But you want to do
And you
what's
know what?
fair.
The
You
other
want to,
Yeah,
please.
the other thing I'd really love to see, Dave, because I said this to Anna last night, and I'll tell you the same. I had a conversation with Gracie Elvin the other day. You would remember the name Gracie Elvin. She's podiumed at the
100%.
Women's Tour of Flanders, just an incredible bike rider. Now, she's keen into Zwifting here in Australia, and I was telling her
Oh,
about
good.
the commentary we do, and I was saying to her that to my absolute joy, when you're commentating on the community leagues, you don't, in many moments, realize whether you're watching A's, B's, C's, whatever. The racing is the same. It's all really tenacious. They put a lot into strategy, they work hard. Really, the difference is just the number in front of their name, which half of the time you kind of forget anyway, to be honest. I do. I certainly do. I don't
I
see
couldn't
any
agree
measurable
more.
difference between the groups. And she was like, wow, I'll have to tune in and watch it. And I said, yeah. And it made me think that I'd also love if we had almost a BCD World Championship kind of world tournament sort of event as well, sitting under that to reward all of the community leagues and how well they do. So maybe, the top teams from each division around the world we could get together for one event. I think that could be like a really sensational way to highlight and showcase all the amazing talent that we have across the board in the community.
Can I commentate it with you?
Please,
And
that's a
I'm in.
must. And Anna can
Sounds
do our
awesome.
whiteboard for us, and then we're
Yeah,
sweet.
right. We'll be like, hey, we'll throw it to Anna. Anna, what's going on the climb, right? So let's take these a quick look at these times here, Kate. As right now, it's Dutch Diesel doing what they do so well. 12:54. It's 13:30, sitting in second place for ATP Racing Vestmid. Third right now, West Coast Coalition. This is the 8K check. There's a 16K. That's one lap done, one to go, and then 24K about halfway through that second lap. Third place right now is Cadence with the 14:05, 14:10. So it's close there between fourth and fifth. That's your updated times coming in from the first
Ooh.
check out there, as that's going to be, again, Dutch Diesel Xena up on top. And I think we've got a lot of racing to look at here, as we've got our men on the West Coast out racing as well.
And that solidifies ATP Vespid's spot on the table as well, because they are, by a point leading that next four from second through to fifth that are so tight. So it looks like they're sitting comfortably in that one. We are going to flip across to the men in a moment. We're just hanging out for them at the moment. So we will. There are the fellas, the Riot. The Riot men out on course. Dave, immediately, where are the others? What's this gap about? I mean, they're not big gaps. They're sneaking onto screen there, but Riot need to tidy this up a little bit or they're going to hurt some legs.
Yes, ma'am. Your director mode, activate. Kate
Yes.
Bates, but tidy it up. Um, but that would be exactly what you're saying here. Saw a lot of this, to be honest, out here. Going back to what you were saying earlier, saw a few technicals today that really came into play early. Watched one poor rider, no reason to name names, but who spent the first 3K chasing his team, sitting just 5 seconds behind them. As you can only, he's matching the team watt for watt, but you can only do that for so long, as they just couldn't afford to wait. That's really the essence of team time trialing, to tell you the truth, is you just keep pressing on. I was telling Nathan earlier today, anytime that you're looking in the rearview mirror and trying to figure out, do we wait or not wait, you're losing the race at that moment. Because the winning teams are always looking forward. The race is in the future. It's never in the past when you're winning a team's time trial.
No, I think the team dynamics out on course can be really hard. I said the way and I'm sure I've said it to you before, Dave, because I think teams time trials are both a beautiful and glorious event, as well as being rather revolting. Like the mind games that go on and the nerves pre-teams time trial are something quite unique across the board. When you're the strongest rider, you don't want to let them down by going too hard. When you're kind of one of the fifth or sixth riders, you don't want to let them down by getting dropped too early. Everybody just has to listen and do what they're told. And if they do what they're told, it can work beautifully. So a good team director.
Again, director Kate. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Well,
look,
I did tell the Aussie girls. Well, I told the Aussie girls, I said, if you'd like a race director, a team director that stays quiet and doesn't say much, then I would mute me, because you're not going to like my style.
You got the wrong woman.
So we'll see
Kate,
how that goes.
I don't know. I would imagine, knowing Australia being up for anything as far as sport goes, that boxing must have a strong history down under. But there's no doubt. We're going to take a look at the women's Cs. I hope we get to take a look. This is great. The DDC kittens here. But boxing, they call it the sweet science, right? Because it's really, in a lot of ways, similar. It's brutal in some levels, but by the time you get really good at it, it's more science. It's not brutality, to tell you the truth, right? It's just knowing what you have to do. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It really is, when you see a team executing.
And I think it goes to mentality around racing as well. And a lot, I would say the vast majority of esport riders appreciate the data and are very happy to be guided by numbers and quite clear processes, rather than, the general vibe, which a lot of road riders are more like, I'll duck under this corner and undercut and throw a headbutt here and I'll win. And you certainly can't do that in this world. So by this stage, kind of in the evolution, give that time. Maybe the Zwift people are listening to that.
I know
I have one other request.
Well, there's a couple Australian performer road pros that are kind of well known for headbutting, right?
Yeah, you mean Robbie McEwen, Mark Renshaw?
Yes, I didn't want to name him. Yes, 100%.
I did. Greg Henderson. He's one of Zwift. Although he's a New Zealander, I can hear our producer in the background calling out Hendy, but we don't claim him unless he wins something. That's how it works with Aussies and Kiwis. So we'll see how they go on the weekend. But yes, they do. We do racecraft in Australia. We teach that kind of racecraft. And tenacity, maybe could be dialed back a little bit, but we've had some pretty successful riders over the years, I'd say.
I would say so. Yeah, there's no question. Quite a few. One of the things I always love when you see junior riders, getting them out on the grass, Kate, and having them learn how to lean into each other, and learning what it's like, the in real life part of racing that's so different on Zwift. And I know that you've got a racer on the Australian team, is one of the best in the world at both, much like Ashley Moolman Passio, back to go one step higher on the podium as Sarah Gigante. Very exciting to have
Yeah,
her.
yeah, yeah. Well, she's only young, but it's put some. She's Zwift has been a very big influence in her career thus far because she's had some pretty crappy injuries along the way and health issues that she's had to deal with, and Zwift has been the platform to get her back. Now we are kind of waffling a little bit. I'm sure there's a waffle ride somewhere, but we're waffling a bit, Dave. So I'm going to pay attention for a moment. Revo are on the way back down. They are now on their second lap. So this is
Just
a good
starting
time
it.
for
Yep.
them to reboot. A bit of power tuck action, getting a little bit of that. Very in sync, weren't they? Getting a little bit of relief before they head back out on course. There is no doubt that the second lap is going to be the more difficult one there.
Taking a look at these splits here, Kate, this is how good Dutch Diesel is. So these teams started based on the standings on the overall. So 8 races this season. After 6 races, as we're into the 7th here tonight, they are almost 3 minutes faster than the second place team out here. And I will change that. It's really just 2 minutes faster, 2:12 faster, but still, that's exceptional when you look at the fact that's only 16K in one of 2 laps. And Revo Musketeers are not on a bad day, as they're going to come in 30 seconds quicker than Coalition Synthesis. So Dutch Diesel Cycling, holy cow. The Atomic Kittens and Fuego, we're going to go back in and pick up Coalition now.
Coalition looking pretty neat. They've only got 5 riders, so 5 is never quite as good as 6 in a team's time trial. I'm not sure how many they started with those. So there's always that question of whether they have actually jettisoned one or whether they started with 5. So by the back end, so in that first lap, you want to be very careful when you start with 5, because you really have to make sure everybody is settled in. But they will be able to crank it up a little notch here for that second half, because they can afford to lose a rider. In terms of the overall, they really do need a good result here to move up the table a little bit, and I think that they're on track for a pretty good ride so far. But they have dropped further back from Revo in that second 8 kilometres. So let's see if they can perhaps crank it up a little bit here and see what they can do. But fair to say that DDC are now, significantly keeping pace and just getting faster as they go. So we are really looking at a race from second down. Let's take a look at the misfits here, Dave. 4 riders. They need to be a little bit more cautious. They don't have any errors to make. They're also now heading out onto lap 2. They had a decent, a solid start, but they are in danger of having the mischievous meerkats overtake them or catch them if they do falter at all here.
Yeah, taking a look at the second lap. Now, this is that downhill where you really want to carry your speed. It's one of those sneakily important sectors of the course. It's hard to eke out much time, but if you don't have that speed, you lose a lot. And then you go into the triple, the 1, 2, 3 punch that you get from. Would you get it if I gave you the triple Lindy reference? Would that make any sense to you, Kate?
It would not. But while we're talking about things that I may not understand, there's a whole lot of hype talk going on. Something called the golden kilometer. I need you to kind of fill us in on that one. What's that all about?
Yeah. Well, I mined this out of in real life racing. It's a fantastic concept that we're trying to get Martin at WTRL to embrace. I think we've got Nathan Guerra on board with this.
Mm.
So it's interjecting in points race format events. So you wouldn't do it for a team time trial, but you put a random kilometer, call it the golden kilometer, out there on the race course. It has 3 sprints, each bonus, 3 bonuses at each one, 3, 2, and 1 second. So maximum 9 seconds if you sweep through the golden kilometer. And again, I'm not saying I invented it, but it's what I'm bringing to the table. And you're right, there's a lot of hype worldwide about it, Kate. I'm glad
Yeah,
it's
look,
down in
I
Australia.
mean,
Yeah.
you may not have invented it, but I've never heard it of anyone else. Therefore, it is currently yours. I think you should claim it. And in time, I think you can also say you did invent it, and you're credible, Dave. So we'll
Eventually.
believe you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah,
Kate.
let's just go with that.
You would make a great business partner. That's for sure. So,
or a great lawyer, perhaps.
there you go. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
So what's happening here, though, Dave? We're seeing a little bit. The Misfits are having a little bit of a conniption here. Yes.
So, well, I
we've
was
got a bit
thinking
of a gap here. Is this our view, Nathan? Can you Thank you very much.
That's not
Much obliged.
all.
That's not too
All
bad.
in all, Kate, no, it really isn't, especially on an 11% grade. It's a little bit of every woman. Just get yourself up and over this climb. Aerodynamics aren't as important. As a matter of fact, we've seen riders, Kate, at this point where you want to talk about tidying it up, director Kate. We saw some teams where riders were 20 seconds up the road at this point. That's where you're like, ooh la la, what's going on here? We can do better,
Yes.
but not the case here. These women are doing just fine.
They are, and this is we touched on this earlier, didn't we? That sometimes the best strategy for a team is for them to all climb at a pace that they're quite comfortable with. Because what I have learned is that sometimes the really good climbers, the really strong climbers, if they climb at a much slower pace than they're comfortable with, it often actually gives them bad legs. It doesn't save their energy. It just isn't a comfortable tempo for them. So if you allow them to sit comfortably, but then it's very clear that they'll regroup over the top, everybody can be confident in their way going up the climb.
So I completely agree with that. The one thing that's really important, and we really had some teachable moments out here, is that you have the team together when you make these swooping. It's like a roller coaster ride. After you come over the top of Governors, right, and then drop down 23rd, you really want to use the momentum and avalanche through and make sure that you just carry as much speed as you can on to that next climb. And just really trying to be efficient out there with that. And it's interesting. Maybe a lot of it is psychological. Some of it is physics. But that carrying of speed, right? Not bogging down. The worst place to scrub speed is at the bottom of a climb, right?
Yeah, it really is. You do need to put a bit of effort in to get comfortable because what they don't often talk about is that climbing slowly often uses as much power as climbing quickly. It's just how you approach and how much speed you carry onto it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And also psychologically, so this is where I would not criticize this the leader here, because it's like, look, climb at your pace. Kate is right. You'll be able to easily soft pedal and rejoin the team when you go over the top, but it gets a little frustrating even for good climbers to have to slow down too much. And this way, again, this team just getting through this a really challenging team's time trial course. You typically, back when this is a world championship event, Kate, they would do this on freeways, highways, because they were looking for something where maximum gradient 3%. They weren't looking for any kind of climb. It was really about 4 riders and aerodynamics over 100K. But WTRL really changed the game. And there's no doubt that here in ZRL, it's not as straightforward of a team time trial course that we're looking for. And this really pushes towards the extreme of some just very challenging climbs. A tough course out here in Richmond. This gap will quickly be welded back together as we're out on lap 2 for everybody. couple of teams here that are related, sister teams that are starting to almost merge together here. So the West Coast Coalition 1 and 2 about to make West Coast Coalition 3. Actually,
we've
that's
got
going to
the
be the
meerkats in
mischievous
the middle
Bearcats,
there,
right?
don't we?
We
It's
do.
David. It's to pick up on something you were saying just before. Something really cool about this season is that they've in WTRL they've had this divergence of courses. So you've had climbers courses, you've had sprinters courses, you've had teams time trials that are pretty challenging with some pickly parts in them. And what it's forced some teams to do is actually have quite a diverse squad, because otherwise they have very little chance of winning the overall season if they've only got sprinters or climbers. And I really like that. And that is really showing in the tactics the teams are having to use and how they're having to ride as a team and look after each other through these, because they do come into it with a different group. More diverse group maybe than earlier seasons. Now we're looking at the men again. We are back on Riot. They are, well, they're moving pretty quick from the looks of it, Dave, and they look fairly comfortable. When we look at the splits, we've got the Bs up on screen at the moment, so they are not the A splits, but let's take a look at the A splits. And Riot, well, they're not sitting in the top spot at the moment. That is OMG. They killed Kenny. They've been super impressive over the weeks, haven't they? Um,
They're just
so
happy
there's
that
a
they
bit of a
don't have to
chase
have
going
Nathan
on.
crushing their legs out there. Nathan raced with those guys recently, and they said never again. That hurt way too much, as if team's time trial wasn't painful enough. Having Nathan on your team is the extra 3% that makes people just say, mercy, mercy me. So that's going to be our man out of Austin, Texas, Dan Pedrosa. And it's going to be Philippe Nystrom right behind him. Nice chatting
Oh,
with Philippe this
hi,
week.
fellas. I
These are the
think the
good
funny thing
guys.
is, even though I
Yep.
know what they look like on photos, I would probably walk straight by them in the shopping centre, because, I don't know how tall they are. I don't, and it's funny that you commentate on people for such a long period of time and feel like you know them quite well. But I mean, I know that you've met
Well,
Dan and Danny.
you're 100% correct. And they were just huge fans of yours. And it was so much fun to be a part of that kind of love fest for sure. And it really is what Zwift community's been about. I mean, in all honesty, Kate, this was exactly what I needed. Take a look at the hawk shadow. Sorry, our producer just changing screens there. But hawk shadow right there above the riders here as they make their way down in the swampy, muddy flats. That's a big bird. Unless it's flying within a few meters of the sun, I don't know how close it is to the earth, but that bird is monster. And you know, bad news birds are. I don't need to tell you the land of the magpies, where everyone is basically running in fear
Oh,
of their
yes.
lives. Yeah, yeah. So
Indeed, they are. Indeed, they are. I think it's a good insult to say, I wish a magpie swoop on them. That would be like a pretty nasty thing to say.
that's pretty. Yeah, that's
It's
not
pretty
kind.
cutting. You
That's
know that you're in
pretty
trouble when you
cutting.
say
Yeah.
that.
Yes, the curse of the magpie from director Kate. Yikes. All right. So Tanganen is the rider that we're in with. Badass Fuel is the team. And let's see here. Everybody now, it's 32K of racing. But by the time you get to this point, most of the serious or painful climbing is behind you. It's about 280 meters total. So you still do have to get back up the plateau. And so we talk about Richmond being a tale of two cities. There's the 23rd Street, Libby Hill. That's where you get as far away from the finish line as you can be. But it's really two plateaus as well. And when you're down here, you're still in the lower part by the river. And to get up to the finish line, you got to do all that climbing to get back up into the main downtown part of Richmond.
And it's a good reminder that the team on the top of the league standing tables, they actually go out first. So we are used to in real life and previous editions where it was the other way around, where it would almost give them something to chase. But it's a little bit different. So let's take a quick look at the standings so that we can compare that to how the times are looking. So Dirty Rascals right on the top. OMG, they killed Kenny, only 2 points behind. There is the
Oh,
battle we are
wow.
watching. And OMG are performing so well today. They are looking at nudging that a bit closer, setting up a real finale for next week. On the Rivet, Hayes and on the Rivet, Rush. Close there. It is still possible for Rush to move up, although no, 5 points, maybe not. And Azetta. Now, where are they today? I'm wondering. It surprises me so much that they're fifth on the table and that far down, because they have animated so many of those points races. So it just goes to show that even though they may be doing some really impressive things in the points races, it may not be translating to overall points, team tally points for the teams rather than the individuals when it does come to that overall standing.
Yeah, this is going to come. Boy, it's going to be really interesting to see how things sort out. A lot on the line out here today, with only one more race before we go into playoff mode here. It's going to be interesting, that's for sure. Taking a look at the splits, it's only 8 seconds between those two teams. So Dirty Rascals Riot, who come in on the top, are now, so effectively, if it ends this way, which no reason to say, we've still got a lot of racing to do, but it'll be virtually tied heading into the final race here. These two teams have had quite a season to battle. And so look at that. New times coming in. It is a 1 second difference. Oh, man.
Ooh,
we got a battle royale.
Around.
It is on like Donkey Kong. And now I saw Philippe Nystrom going up to the front. So the Costa Rican rider, but the Rascals Riot team, Dirty Rascals Riot, in full effect as they are ready to charge into the final 8K with the 1 second advantage. Wow.
Wow, that was quite a turnaround. They have really started conservatively. This is a really good directing going on. These 4 riders now are absolutely dialed into this and really building speed. This is going to get a little bit messy in this final 8 kilometers for them because they have lifted their pace so significantly. They need to just absolutely get everything they possibly can out of the next 7 odd kilometers that is left. The 4 of them looking really strong, Dave. OMG, they killed Kenny. Can they lift? Seeing these times and these splits, can they rally and bring back that gap? They are certainly pushing very hard to do that. Those little gaps that are opening up are not bad because it just shows that they're absolutely pushing as hard as they can to keep going. I always get a bit nervous when a rider swings off and doesn't immediately pedal because I really don't want them to miss the wheel getting back on. But it looks like they've handled that okay, and my heart rate can settle down a little bit from that one. But OMG, they have a real opportunity here, and I hope that there is a lot of cheering going on in Discord to really rally these guys and get them to push it all the way to the line.
So Dirty Rascals Riot is a team that, we've talked a lot with, oh my God, they killed Kenny, and having a chance to get to know that team. Dirty Rascals Riot really deserves credit. This team now, it's really, we've talked about the movement that is the Dirt family. And if you look at it, Dirty Rascals Riot, they were created back in 2019. As they wanted to race in the espresso category of WTRL's team time trial. They've been incredibly successful there, no doubt about it. Some of the team live in San Diego, like Brett Byland. I want to make sure that Byland took the start today, as they have a lot of talent on this one, and I don't think Byland. OMG is actually starting to close it down right now. One rider certainly to highlight out here. Yeah, 21 seconds we are hearing now. This is Marc-Andre Foucher that we're looking at. He is Canadian public. He works in the world of mapping, Kate, a mapping
Ooh, that's
agency there.
interesting.
Yeah, and
I like
Nathan will
that.
love this. He's been racing a mountain bike since he was a teenager. Started Zwifting about 2 years ago, and has really come on strong here in the world of during the pandemic. He built a gym at home that is legendary. So this is just one of the riders on this team that is certainly leading the charge for that Rascals Riot squad.
That is very cool. I love that these people have actual lives and actual careers behind them. We're used to
Well, you'll
talking about the pros where that's all they do.
Well, you'll love this one as well, parent. Both you and Nathan, parents. I want to give Nick Morrison a shout out on that Rascals Riot team as well, as we're in with a little bit of a split happening right now there with, oh my God, they killed Kenny. But Nick Morrison is a father of two. He's got a 4-year-old and a 3-month-old boys cheering him on. He was a baseball player in high school. Yep. But he's still out there. He played a role earlier in the day for the team. Another rider on this Riot team here that has been instrumental in this team making big steps forward. So just wanted to highlight a few of the Riot guys out here this week. We'll continue to pay attention to that team, as I know that we spent a lot of time on, oh my God, they killed Kenny, rightfully so. I wanted to let the Riot guys know how much we appreciate them as part of the community here as well. Share the love, right?
I think that share the love. And they're about to see each other. Oh, isn't this a nasty part of the course where
do they wave?
One team is
Are they going to wave?
Doing a U-turn. Ooh, see, you know what? This is where in real life you'd be fully looking over. You'd be playing the head game like, we see you, we are coming. Can't do that here. But you can probably imagine it. And I think that this will be a big motivating moment for the OMG fellas.
With your time on the Australian national team, Kate, do you think you've ever had a teammate that would shout something at the other team, like "we're going to get you" or anything like that? Is that feasible? Not really.
I haven't, but I've definitely had some teammates who I have been concerned might slightly more sassy or volatile. You could also call them.
Yeah, you're like, hey, could we just kind of keep that on the down low, please? We don't need to be yelling at them, right?
There's always the people that you train on the road with that, they're going to be a little bit prone to road rage. If a car comes a bit too close to you, there's always one in every bunch that will pull out the swear words.
Oh, we all have that friend, right?
Yeah.
We're like, hey, do we need to pick a fight with everybody that we see out here on this ride? You know what I mean? Like, take it easy, man. So one thing, Kate, that when you do meet Dan and Danny Pedrosa, you're going to be disappointed to see that Dan's hair looks nothing like his avatar. He's a business owner. Yeah. He's a very clean-cut guy. So he seems to see himself as quite the hipster.
Yeah, it's like an alter ego. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yeah, with like steampunk goggles with the braided hair and
Yeah, good on him.
He's a very, very ordinary looking guy.
But he's not.
Yeah. Well, he is.
With absolute all due respect, Dan.
Yeah. So what a battle.
Yes, I do think you can have some fun with that, can't you? Sorry, Dave. Continue actually commentating on the race, not me laughing at fashion.
So, hey, I did want to say this is Eric Tudor that we've got here. He's got 2 kids as well. It seems like one thing, obviously the dirt part is dad inside riding trainers, right? And it seems like all these guys don't just have one kid. He works in higher education, Eric Tudor, I'm talking about. He was an NAIA All-American miler. So that's a big deal. Guy running sub 4-minute miles who took what a monster, as he's doing quite well out here in the world of Zwift.
I think that's
He's
quite
got a
cool,
2-year-old.
actually, that we've got a lot of real athletes, don't we? You know, like they've been super impressive in their life endeavors, and the fact that they've, you know, had kids and got real jobs, and that's kind of changed their lifestyle a little bit. But this is a perfect outlet for their athleticism.
It really is, and I mean, gosh, Kate, you know as well as anyone, just for these guys, in this case, guys, but it applies for women equally. Obviously, that there's certain people that just need that exercise as part of your just well-being, your mental health as well as physical health. And getting out here and doing this is just a great way to condense and get that check a lot of boxes. The the competitive element of this, it's a lot of fun. Tapping your adrenal gland as they're down to 700 meters to go. You don't think these guys are all in? I mean, come on, Riot. Good job out here today, guys. What a ride. As
Oh,
they have been
yeah.
fighting for the top spot. You know, they're feeling it right now, Kate. They are loving it.
Oh, this is a real competition. This is what we want to see, that at the end of the season, it is not just that it is 1 second in the, you know, with 8 kilometers to go in that time split, but that the overall standings are so tight that you literally do not know who may prevail until the absolute final race. I think that that is absolutely sensational, and a big part of what we love so much about this league, that we are just seeing the competition ramp up. And there's no question that the Riot squad have been sensational this season. Can they pull a few seconds out? I mean, OMG, look at them. They are closing in. They can smell blood.
I got to give it up. The final guy is going to be Ben Nordstrom here. Obviously, he's a dad, works in finance, a college baseball player, and an old school specialized rock hopper owner. As they did a great job. Way to go, guys.
That is sensational. OTR, we're looking at the moment, presented by Badass Fuel. What is Badass Fuel, Dave?
If you have to ask, you're not ready for it, Kate. Sorry.
Okay. I'm thinking it's not like petrol for your car. I'm thinking it's like some kind of fuel for your body. I don't know.
You know what, Kate? I'm not even kidding, and Nathan, I think, would agree with me. You're the most badass person I know. So if you don't know, how would I know? Are you kidding me?
Oh, I will take that as a massive compliment. Nathan, could you please sound clip that for me? I might use that as my ringtone or alarm or something like that. Or just when I'm having a glum day, I'll just play that.
So what do you think, Kate? Is it, well, you know what? I'm not going to put you on the spot like that. That's fair. We got OTR Rush and OTR Hayes. It's OTR versus OTR out here. And
they're very close on the overall table too. So this is quite a play out consistently, aren't they?
This is going to do it. You can see the arches right there. Beautiful day in Richmond for racing. It's been a fantastic race. 7 of 8. We'll be back next week with the final points race for the community before we move into playoff mode with 2 more races to wrap things up. Brian Diddy, big fan, Brian. I think it's the first time I've seen TFC out here today. We've had a lot of fun jumping around. We should do. Oh, these guys are the coolest.
Yeah,
you know, they got the cool names. Everything's been well thought out.
This is I'm thinking very rap, like beats. So we like talking Dr. Dre. We've got Diddy. We've got Daddy. Who else? Hold on. Who else is in that team that I?
Someone should be like G Money, G Waddy. Yeah.
Yeah. Harris. I mean, there might be a rapper. I don't know. It looks like they've been caught, Dave. So this is a little bit messy here with a few different style jerseys getting thrown around here. Gosh, what's going on here? Come on now, Rampage. Get some jersey consistency here. Anna Russell would be having an absolute conniption right now. We shan't let her see this.
Yeah, absolutely don't. I don't want to hear it. She would be tearing these guys apart. Yeah, guys, do us a favor, guys. Not for you, for us. So we don't have to hear Anna. Oh, and look at this, like 2 guys with disc wheels, 3 guys on Tron bikes. Everything about this would have her out of her seat. So, okay, just kidding, Rampage. Keep it up. You do you. You don't have to worry, but it's going to be
You're the
really fun
people's
when we look.
person, Dave. You're kinder than I am. I'm like, no, get it together. Fix this before next week. We want to see this. Oh, come on. They're in Paris next week, Dave. You're not going to jaunt
Oh,
down the Champs-Elysees in mixed kit, surely now.
looking looking like a
Looking
thrift store,
dishevelled.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, in saying that, love you guys. It's been a great season. So it's all in good
Hey, it's
jest.
virtual. It's virtual as
Yeah.
well. So you're certainly right. Um, yeah, certainly. I think that everybody's sad to see this season end. It's been our best season without any doubt. As we are bringing everybody into the final K, this is going to be Ivan, a very popular rider with everybody here at Zwift Community and Zwift Community Live. This is Michael Sweet, the saver of laptops. There,
Saver of laptops. If you could drop into my place, sweet saver of laptops, I am not.
please.
I have a few laptops that
Um,
are, headed toward the tip with a mallet. So if you could drop over and help me with that.
I noticed that 90% of Michael Sweet's Insta posts are of him eating.
Oh,
Just he rides to eat for sure. Well, I don't know if that's fair to say, but he definitely takes advantage of the fact that he rides his bike 80 miles a day out there, and seems to find the best sweets. Yes, certainly. Nathan was our producer, and obviously the man behind the whole thing here has seen what I'm talking about. So everybody down to the last K. This is really 100 meters to go, and they will be finishing up here. There's the line, done and dusted.
look, I just heard something about shirtless and peanut butter, and that needs context.
I wasn't
I'm
going to repeat it.
going to say
I heard
after
it
the
too,
show,
Kate.
I want some context. Yeah, that's why you bring me, Dave, because you
Kate,
have the
you know I
decorum
heard it,
to
Kate.
not
Yeah.
say it, and but I always will. You can count on that.
Oh.
Dearie me.
And do I hope that we're coming down to Australia for Worlds so I can see you in person, Kate? All right, Late, look at this kick here. This is what it's like emptying the tank out there after a tough team time trial. 2 laps on Richmond reversed is done as Dumper coming across for, we've got a bunch of teams finishing up here. It was a fun day. You can see by the red flags there the number of riders that they started with inside that box, and then the red flag means that we've recorded them as finishing already. If it's green, theoretically they're either they haven't updated the data yet, or they're still out on course, as you can see with Royal City here.
Which is a good kind of red flag. Normally when somebody's saying there's a red flag, it is not as favourable as somebody has finished. It's it's a little bit worse than that. So I'm really happy when you're saying there's a red flag, Dave, that it's a good thing.
If they say, Kate, there's a red flag about your commentating career, that's not what you want to hear at all.
That is certainly not something you want to hear. But these
but
teams
you
will
are
be very happy
green-lighted.
to get that red flag. Excellent. Yes,
green-lit.
that's what we want.
Yes. Matthew McConaughey has a book called Green Lit, and obviously that's a term for when a movie's been funded, and it's green lights. Is that it, Nathan? Green lights. I'm sorry. So, but I like that concept of getting the thumbs up and saying, "Hey, we believe in your project, and we believe in you." So, all right. Well, now you're just galloping home. Although I'd like to see it tighten up, as Director Kate would say, a little bit here for Royal City.
Yes. Tighten it up, fellas. You're nearly there. But this will certainly hurt a lot. We are watching Sanford, who has pushed ahead a little bit here. He's going to want to dial off that power. His heart rate 190, his power in the mid 300s. He's certainly not backing off at all. But you can't use the excuse when you're in Zwift that you didn't hear on the radio, you didn't quite realise that anyone had been dropped, because you are literally watching them and you can literally see the gap there, Dave. But for the most part, that was a pretty good performance across the board. Let's go and have a look at the results. We'll take a look at the women first, but I really want to see where the men's A, how that's sorted out as well. So I will hand over to you for the women's Bs, Dave, that we have got first. We did see DDC dominating there, but how much did they win by in the end?
Well, it's 133, Kate, to answer that question right up front. Is ATP Racing Vespid ended up with the silver medal, as they still were. If you look at the watts here, Dutch Diesel Cycling, it's not so much the power. I mean, obviously the power is high, but they're just a little more efficient than ATP Racing Vespid out there. West Coast Coalition B in for the bronze medal slot at third, Cadence for fourth. And it's going to be Alto Velo Tonitas in fifth. That's our women's Bs out of America's West Division 1. Back to you, Kate, for the Cs.
Well, DDC, haven't they had a good outing? And what a win in this category. 324 ahead of the Revo Musketeers. Would not surprise me if they get a highlighter over their name to then push up to the next category. They are eerily close to that watt per kg average there for the riders. So that'll be an interesting one for next week to see if they're all still there. In second, the Revo Musketeers for a solid ride. Coalition Synthesis sitting in third. Herd of Misfit Meerkats came in fourth there. I think we may still have a few more teams there still coming in. We're waiting for some results. But as always, you can head over to WTRL.racing to see the final results. So let's go over to the men's, Dave. And not as close as we thought in the end. OMG really brought it home.
Yeah, Nathan was shouting in our ears that it was looking like, oh my God, they killed Kenny, was moving, and they really were. 42.22, 4.71 watts per kilo. That was close, though. I mean, so 23 seconds to Dirty Rascals Riot, who put up quite a fight. It just means that next week is going to be phenomenally exciting. On the Rivet Rush ends up with a third place today. On the Rivet Hayes in fourth. And I think we're going to wait for the rest of that data to come in. Well, or maybe I can get the placings. AF Troposphere in fifth. On the Rivet Blaze sixth. Coalition Anarchy seventh. Dirty Rascals Rampage in eighth. OMFG, they fed Cartman ninth and TFC, the Friday Criterium Scorpion. But again, as Kate said, you can always go to WTRL.racing to get the latest information and results and see what's good in the world of World Tactical Racing League. We've got Thursday's Team Time Trial World Tournament to look forward to, and obviously World Championships. And Kate, I do want to let you know that we want to wish you and your Australian team good luck at the World Championships coming up in Australia. I mean,
Thank you very much, Dave.
Directing Australia,
yeah,
New York.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is a very, very exciting weekend ahead, and I think for all of it's exciting week. In fact, for the community, we've got, of course, got the World Tournament in the TTT on, and we also have the World Championships. Everybody should dial in and take a look. Let's take a look at a little bit of what is to come in the action for the UCI World Championships. And Dave, we will be back next week. No doubt we'll be talking about Worlds a little bit while we're also talking about the final race for Paris. But let's take a look ahead of Saturday night for you Americans, Sunday morning for the Aussies, at what's to come with the UCI World Championships.